Hey everybody, John the Other here, obviously. And YouTube doesn't have a video response feature anymore, although this would be a video response if there was such a thing. I'm doing this in response to a video just uploaded about 9 hours ago by Thunderfoot. And I posted something like this as a comment, and I'm going to just repeat it as a video because it's worth, saying over and over. Feminism is not a secular, conventional movement. It's not a political movement. It's not a human rights or a civil rights movement. Although it uses the language of secular or political activism, it's not that thing. All that framework, that secular, human rights, language, political activism, legal activism, whatever, is just a surface gloss on what is fundamentally, deep down in its core, a spiritualist movement. We look at modern feminism as emerging from the suffragette movement of the, early 20th century. In reality, though, the suffragettes and the women's activists of the early 20th century, late 19th century, were all spiritualists. Now, if you read the early histories of feminism, it's blatantly apparent that there is this intermingling of political activism, particularly in getting women having the vote, but intermingled with spiritualism, coming out of the mystical traditions like Rosicrucianism and spirit channeling and spirit mediums and so on. The first wave feminists and the pre-first wave feminists were all mystics, and the mysticism is still there, hidden. Although most, campus feminists have no concept that any of that is there, it's deep down in their belief system. The patriarchy, this thing we keep hearing about the patriarchy, which is framed in secular language. The patriarchy is men on the tops of corporations or men occupying the seats of government, and that the world is a man space run by men for men and suppressing of women. That's all secular language disguising what is actually a spiritualist belief. And the spiritualist belief is that masculinity and femininity are the two yin and yang of humanity, of the human spirit, and that femininity is enlightened and kind and evolved and nurturing and lovely, and masculinity is brutal and atavistic and predatory and mechanistic, and that it is the primitive one, and the femininity is the evolved going forward. And so in the feminist spiritual belief system, we must discard all that mechanistic, brutal, predatory, logic and reason-based masculinity, because that's primitive humanity holding us back, and embrace feminine concepts, that women's ways of knowing, an emotional-based reasoning. Now, I happen to think that emotional-based reasoning leads us back into a dark age, back into a very brutal period of human history, but that's just my opinion. But in the feminist mystical belief system, which is hidden, this is why we hear about patriarchy. It's secular language talking about a spiritualist concept. And this is also why the constant refutation of feminist talking points like the wage gap, this has been debunked so many times, it's tedious. Any of the other major points of feminist rhetoric cannot be debunked with evidence, because simply using evidence for anything proves that you're in that masculine, atavistic, regressive, primitive, holding the whole human race back mindset, and that in order to move forward and evolve and achieve a nirvana or enlightenment or something, we've got to move humanity into this women's ways of knowing, a spiritual, mystical, and emotional-based reasoning. That's why pointing out how stupid feminists are, or how stupid their rhetoric is, or how patently false it is when compared to reality, doesn't work. I mean, we've all been scratching our heads going, well, why doesn't it work? Why doesn't evidence prove anything? Why do these lies continue to be thrown out in the face of all evidence to the contrary? Because the fact that you're using evidence shows that you're atavistic, masculine, logic, the brutal tool of masculine patriarchy, and that to move forward spiritually, the evolution of the human race, we must embrace women's ways of knowing. It's a mystical belief system hiding itself behind secular language, and that it's this spiritualist mystical belief system wrapped in a wrapper of secular language is why a secular approach to debunking false claims will never work. And you can exhaust yourself to the end of time trying. Anyway, thanks very much for watching, and have a lovely day.